Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at the Ring of the Nibelung, P. Craig Russell's beautiful adaptation of Richard Wagner's 1876 opera. This was published by Dark Horse Comics in single issue form from 2000 to 2001. The next year in 2002, Dark Horse collected it in this incredibly beautiful edition. One of the nicest books I own. It has this, faux leather cover. I don't know if you guys can see the embossed. There's like a hand grasping the ring, a very stylized hand. Very hefty book. Gold embossed lettering. I love this kind of, I don't know what you call this again. It almost looks like beautiful end papers. This design. But it looks really nice. Here's the end papers. And this is really beautiful here. God, some of these drawings, the comic isn't drawn in this style. It's drawn in a more comic-y style, comic booky. But God, these illustrations are amazing. As you can see, it's signed and numbered. I actually am happy that I have P. Craig Russell's signature somewhere, because I've admired that guy's work since I was a little kid. So I guess they only made 500 of these, this limited edition. Title page, real title page. We have a dedication here. Even this title page, just beautifully designed, beautiful art here. So this is translated by Patrick Mason, P. Craig Russell's long-time collaborator, who basically adapts all of the operas into script form for P. Craig Russell to illustrate. Patrick Mason is like a, expert on opera. It's colored by Laverne Kinzerski. And I forgot just how good Laverne Kinzerski is. One of the best colors probably ever in the medium, lettered by Galen Showman. P. Craig Russell's a longtime assistant and an artist in his own right. So we have a preface by Michael Kennedy. He's some smarty pants, the author of the Oxford Dictionary of Music. Introduction by Matt Wagner of Grendel fame. And this introduction by P. Craig Russell. What is an adaptation? This is an incredibly informative article. This is excellent. He's not only talking about how Patrick Mason translated or how opera in other languages can be, translated to English, all the problems therein. But then he goes on to talk about adapting opera to comics, to how do you convey the music swelling in graphic terms. And it's really fascinating. Hopefully I'll remember when we get to this page to explain some of the insights he conveys. Showing us uncolored art. Very rough layouts, the script. This is great stuff. I love seeing this kind of behind the scenes. Look at these rough pencils here. Well, not rough. They're very actually detailed pencils. How we designed the settings, these beautiful sketches. I mean, look at this, just total, this shit's sexy as hell. This is like great homoerotic art. These are from his sketchbooks. I don't think these have ever been printed. Now, here's some of the covers of the original comics. It's very unfortunate that they chose not to reprint these covers in this book. It almost makes me feel like I've been actually, over the years, trying to find these original comics in dollar bins or whatever, just so I can have these covers. It's very annoying that they didn't reprint them in here. Such a, lavish, fancy book. Really bothersome. I think the trade paperback version of this has the covers. It looks like it does. So I might have to just buy that if I ever see it, which is kind of annoying. But the covers are beautiful. I have a few of them. Some other nice sketches that, aren't in the graphic novel. Shows how he uses photo reference. He uses a lot of photo reference, Pete Gregory-Petix does. And Brunhilde the Valkyrie, this is Jill Thompson, longtime comic artist. She was the model for Brunhilde. She does have this amazing, striking face, Jill Thompson. If you've ever seen photos of her, and beautiful red hair. So she's a model. She's been a model for quite a few characters in comics over the years. And now we start. A little prologue here. Kind of, he does this, sometimes he pulls back almost to just showing the blue line art. Kind of like a prologue to the prologue. And here we see Pete Gregory-Petix in all of his full color glory. So we start off with the Norns. The Norns are like the Hecate, the three sisters who know all of fate and destiny. With their they have these ropes tied to a tree. That's how they, I guess, suss out what's going to happen. We see a young Wotan come and sup from this little brook near this, where the Norns are. And silently, we don't know what is being said, but one of the Norns basically points to his eye and reaches for his eye socket. Obviously, some kind of payment is being made. I love these. I don't know why. I love these three little panels of just a drop of water falling into the brook. She takes Wotan's eye and basically in exchange, they let him rip a branch off the tree of life here. Though I'm not positive, she looks dismayed. Maybe that wasn't part of the deal and he just haughtily broke the tree of life. He fashions it into a spear and he goes on his way. Oh, I'm sorry. He actually gets one of the sisters to be his bride. And this is Fricka. We see this gaping hole where the branch was on the tree. And we zoom in on it. It's almost like a sense of impending doom. Like, that probably wasn't a good thing to do. Now we start with part 1 of the Rheingold. The ring cycle is 4 parts. So the Rheingold is the first part. So we start off with the Rhine Maidens. They're kind of like, river nymphs. And they're like, well, obviously they look like mermaids. God, I love this logo. Pete Gregory-Petix's design is so beautiful. Now, if you've noticed, especially compared to the things we've looked at on this channel before, stuff from the 70s and 80s, he's definitely, over the decades, has streamlined his style. It's way more simplified, not a lot of noodly line work like he did in the 70s. Still just this perfect sense of drawing going on. He's a masterful artist. But he's basically stylized his art to it's almost cartoony. In fact, sometimes I'll point it out when he shows characters from a distance. He'll just have dots in their eyes. How cartoonists will do. And it all works, though. It's not like, oh, well, why is it getting so cartoony all of a sudden? He's just got this amazing style. So the Rhine Maidens are talking about their Rheingold. Basically this gold that's in their river. And every day it brings them light and, warmth and good feelings. Now we're introduced to Albrecht. He's a Nibelung, which is kind of like a troll. He's kind of this malformed, homely, and gross character. He's watching the river nymphs from afar. When they notice him looking at them, they just start teasing him and giggling at him, and he is just this total, just like sad sap who's just like, oh, your beauty, may I have a kiss of one of you? He's kind of pathetic, and they just tease the hell out of him. They're pretty cruel about it, but also he's a lecherous, whatever, loser. I'll try not to comment because almost every page of this graphic novel to me is just beautiful. It's just like these. Some people over-rely on photo reference. Pete Gregory-Petix does use it a lot, but he always applies his style to it. So it's never lifeless or like, it just looks like a photo. Like guys like Boris Vallejo would do. It still has this great life to it. All these photo reference drawings. So this goes on for pages. These one after another, the Rhine maidens kind of tease him, pretend they're going to give him a kiss, and then laugh at him. So I guess the sun is coming up, and it touches the Rheingold, and it just fills them with the light. As the sun's light hits it, it radiates throughout the river, and this is just their joy. Look at this beautiful page here. Almost looks like Kaluta. There's the Rheingold. So the Rhine maidens are in charge of guarding this Rheingold. They were charged by Wotan, the king of the gods. I should explain, guys, a lot of these names are different than you're used to if you read Thor comics, but it's pretty much very similar to the Nordic mythology. Wotan is Odin. Later on, we're going to meet, the analogy to Loki and Thor. It's all, Wagner was German. It's all based on this kind of mythology. So basically, the Rheingold has a curse on it. Basically, the thing that makes it hardest to steal is you have to forego love for all time. If you want the Rheingold, you basically have to make a promise. You'll never love again. Now Albert is so bitter and so angry that these Rhine maidens have spurned him that he just says, fuck it, I curse love, which allows him to take the Rheingold. Look at this triumphant pose here. All these other panels, he's kind of hunched over, looks like a little, like he's disabled, and then when he grabs the gold, he's just standing up straight. It fills him with this power. Of course, the Rhine maidens are not pleased. They chase after him. And basically Albrecht realizes, nobody was going to love me anyway, so fuck it. I'm going to at least get this great thing. Now we wake up and we change the scene and we see Wotan waking up. He's talking to Fricka, his wife. His castle, Valhalla, has just been built by two giants, Fafnir and Fasolt. I guess the giants are really good at building things. So Wotan hired them. He basically promised a wife to them. His own daughter. He promised his own daughter Freya as payment for this services rendered. Of course, Fricka is not happy with this. She's like, how could you? But Wotan really wanted Valhalla. He was greedy. He didn't care about the consequences. Some of these great faces again. So now the giants have finished their work. They demand payment. And now Wotan wants to welch on the deal. Because he knows, he can't piss off Frigga. She's the queen of the gods. So they basically bicker and haggle. And Wotan basically is hoping that Loge shows up. Loge. That's Loki. His half-son. But in the meantime, Donner and Fro show up. Now, Donner is Thor. You can tell by his hammer. I'm not sure who Fro is in the Nordic pantheon. But, of course, they want to protect their sister from being abducted by these two giants. Even though, Wotan made the deal. Wotan's kind of being the dick here. So it looks like they're going to fight. But then Loki shows up. Loge. And they always depict Loge as if he's like on fire. He almost looks like the Human Torch almost. But he's very much Loki, You can't really trust him, but he's very clever, so Wotan relies on him a lot. So now Wotan basically tasked Loge with getting him out of this deal, using his wiles. But now it looks like Loge is just like, I thought about it. I don't really feel like helping you. So Loge claims that he's been looking for a substitute for Freya, but he couldn't find anyone. Here's another thing where the color drops out to show like a flashback. He mentions to Wotan about the incident with the Rhine maidens and Albrecht. I'm sorry, Alberich. I've been saying it wrong the whole time. Alberich. Or Alberic. And so finally, Wotan realizes he can't welch on this deal. The giants aren't going to let him. The problem is, though, they realize is that Freya is also the harvester of the golden apples. I guess she's the only one who can do it. These golden apples are incredibly important because they keep the gods immortal. They keep them young. So eventually Wotan realizes he can't weasel out of this, and they take Freya. As soon as Freya is carried away, all the gods start feeling weak. Already, they just without her presence, they can feel their limbs becoming tired. And pretty much they realize they will die without these golden apples. So now Wotan realizes that he has to get the Rhine, the gold, the Rhine gold, sorry. And he asks Loge to come with him, or commands him. He says, come on, we're going to go to Nibelheim and get that gold. This page just looks so nice to me. Just the way the panels are laid out. Gregory-Petix is so good at that. It's very pleasing to the eye. So they go to Nibelheim. This is basically the realm of the, the trolls, the Nibelung. They descend into these caves, and there they find Alberic, who is now lording with the power of this gold. He's actually going to make it into a ring, and this ring will basically give him the power to rule the world. It's very Tolkien-esque. Well, Tolkien is very Wagner-esque. This ring is just all-powerful almost. It sounds like whoever possesses it will be just unstoppable. And so we see him making the ring. Once again, now that he's wearing the ring, he also has this amazing, like almost heroic pose. It fills him with this strength. Now we cut back to Wotan and Loge, and they're still wandering through these caves trying to find the Nibelung. By the time they get there, Alberic has consolidated his power using the ring. He's basically enslaved all of his fellow Nibelung, even his own brother, Mime, who we see right here. So another thing that Alberic forged out of this gold is this kind of headpiece. It has a certain name. I'll get it eventually. And I guess it allows the wearer to become invisible. I think it gives other powers as well. It's basically an amazing weapon. There's another photo reference drawing. So we realize Alberic is just a horrible tyrant. He's just like, beating up his brother and just turning all of his fellow Nibelung into slaves. His greed is just never-ending. I guess Loge confronts Mime, and he tells him, we used to be happy down here. We just, we loved smithing our own things that gave us delight. But now we're forced to work all the time to increase his wealth. He's basically building up a hoard of treasure. So now Albrecht shows up, and now Loge finally confronts him. So they're basically, once again, they're haggling. I love this drawing showing the Nibelung escaping their caves, taking over the world. Really cartoony. I kind of wish there was more panels like that in here. This is a very interesting panel. I've never seen P. Greg Russell do anything like this. Like, it looks like he's taking out like the charcoal pencil or something with this like rough shading, which he usually never does. He always has like nice clean lines. So basically Loge tricks Albrecht. First Albrecht's wearing that mantle on his head. And he says, yeah, I can become anything I want. I'm all powerful almost with this. So Loge says, could you turn into a dragon? Which he does. And then he's all like, whoa, that's impressive. But I bet you couldn't turn into something small, like a little frog, could you? Kind of almost like egging him on. He's like, oh yeah, I'll show you. And he turns into a little frog. And then Loge grabs him. And so he tricks him. He turns back to normal when he rips the thing off his head. And they tie him up. I almost feel sorry for Albrecht. And basically they say, give us your treasure, all your treasure, and we'll set you free. So Albrecht gives in, and they pile up all of this gold that he's been hoarding. So I believe that, I think they even take the ring here. Yes, they do. Because he wants to keep the ring. He's like, as long as I have the ring, I can get more gold. But Owen's not going to let him keep it. So they've got everything of his now, and they set him free. So Albrecht is so pissed off, he says, I curse that ring. From now on, whoever wears it will only find death. Of course, Wotan doesn't care. But Albrecht does continue to say, he who possesses it shall guard it jealously, only to be murdered by it. And we'll see throughout the story that it's true. This ring is no good. So he runs back to his cave, defeated. And Wotan and Loge return to Valhalla with all this gold, and they basically buy off the giants. And they say, we need our sister back, but here's all this gold to make up for it. Now, Fafnir is happy with it. But Fassel's pretty bummed. He actually was really looking forward to having a pretty wife. He's lonely. He seems like a lonely guy. So basically, once again, Wotan tries to keep the ring and also that mantle with all the powers. But the giants are like, nope, every last bit of that gold. Now, this is going to queer the whole deal if Wotan doesn't give him the ring. The giants are like, okay, well, we'll just take Freya and get out of here. We'll take her back. And Wotan is already feeling the curse of the ring where he's so greedy for it. He doesn't want to give it back, even though it'll probably mean the death of the gods without Freya and their golden apples, But then, Erda appears. Erda's another kind of goddess. I think she appears only to Wotan as she's speaking to him. She says, "Let it go, Wotan. Flee the curse of the ring. Doom will pursue you." She's basically like a primeval goddess. I love the way he draws her. This is really some intense drawing going on. She also predicts that the twilight of the gods is coming. Everything that exists will draw to an end. But the last thing she says is relinquish the ring. So Wotan does. I mean, he really has no choice. Without Freya, they'd all die. But he wants it so bad. I love this little panel after Freya runs back to her brothers and parents. We see a little one tear leave Fasold's eye. He doesn't care about all the gold. He just wanted Freya. So they gather up all their gold. And then the brothers get in a fight over the gold, over how they're going to divide it. And Fafnir kills his brother. I like these just brutal, quick panels, like staccato panels of him killing his brother. So now Fafnir goes off by himself with all the gold. Now we see Donner. That's a pretty cool, wicked cool panel there. Almost like a Frazetta thing. And we see the Rainbow Bridge being built. This is the page that Piquet Gresso describes. So in the opera, when Wotan first has the idea of this sword, almost like a magic sword that could maybe save the gods. When at first the twinkling of the idea in his brain, there's the sword theme in the depths of the orchestra, almost like a very low, quiet thing. Setting up in the reader's mind that something significant's happened. We can't see inside of the character's brain, but he is conceiving of the sword. So Piquet Gresso wanted to do it visually. So we just see this drop of water, and from which a little seedling grows that turns into the sword. And then I forgot to mention the most interesting thing of this. The camera is zooming into Odin's eye socket where his eye was taken. We see inside of his head basically, and then the camera pulls out of his good eye, so almost like we know this happened. This is inside his head. Even this amazing thing, the top of the hilt, pretty much looks like the eyeball. So throughout the book, he made all these choices. He had to make how do I convey music in this form? So you know how this is just so quiet seeming, just a drop of water, a little seedling. And apparently the theme goes like that. I don't really know Wagner's work, but according to Piquet Gresso, it is very quiet, just setting up this idea that an idea has, a very powerful idea sprung up in Odin's head. God damn it, I keep saying it, Wotan, sorry, or Wotan. So now they reside to Valhalla, everyone's happy. Of course, Wotan isn't that happy. He wanted the gold really bad, especially that ring. Loge basically talks to the Rhine maidens, and I don't know if he's pretending, but he's all like, you've been done a great injustice, so maybe I'll try to get that gold back for you. I'll do my best. And that's the end of the first part. Next we have the Valkyrie. This is the second part of Wagner's Ring Cycle. Love these introductory pages, almost like a little comic cover. These were made, I'm pretty sure these were made just for this book. We start off with this character running through the rain. He's kind of praying to Wotan, but he calls him Valse for some reason. And he says, how can I avenge that blood without weapons? The blood that is on my hands. And we see Wotan in the clouds. It's a pretty dramatic panel there. Oh man, these colors are outstanding. Really nice stuff. So we find out that this is a guy named Sigmund. Sigmund finds himself in this. He finds a cottage in the middle of the woods here. It turns out this is where Sieglind lives. Now she's married to a guy named Hunding. Hunding's not there right now. She takes him in because he's half dead. And instantly she feels this kind of kinship to him, this affection for him. And as soon as he wakes up, he feels the same way. They're basically flirting with each other right off the bat. She kind of implies that she's in a loveless marriage with this Hunding character. Hunding comes home. Of course, he's pissed off. He's jealous. He's like, who the fuck is this guy? But, you know, he also wants to be hospitable. You kind of expected to be back then. He can tell that his wife is staring at Sigmund. And greedily he says... Now Sigmund gives his backstory. He was born with a twin sister. They were the son and daughter of Wolf. But enemies killed his father, burned down his house, killed his mother, and he never saw his sister again. Once again, dropping the color out for the flashbacks. Just blue line pencil type stuff. So now Sigmund has just been wandering. He talks about freeing this woman from a forced marriage. And that's why at the beginning he was bemoaning, saying that he had blood on his hands, because he feels responsible for this woman's death. Now we come back to the present. There's some really nice character work here. He basically says, you know, I'll shelter you for tonight. You can stay here. But you gotta leave tomorrow. So we see Sieglind. She's putting something in her husband's drink here. Look at her eyes there. So, Sigmund cries out to his father. He cries out to Wotan, the god, but he calls him father. And he says, where's the sword? I need that sword, you know, this magic sword. And after Hunding passes out, Sieglind tells him a story. Sigmund says, once a strange wanderer came to our house. He had a hat kind of drooped over one of his eyes. And it's obviously Wotan. And he took his sword and stuck it in this tree that runs through their house. Very much like King Arthur, you know, no one could pull it out. Many men tried to claim the sword, but nobody could pull it out of this root. The colors are so nice in here, but this art's amazing. I wish I had like an artist edition of this. I mean, not only is she in a loveless marriage, she was basically captured by this guy, Hunding. She had no choice. So she has no qualms about, you know, running off with Sigmund. Some really nice passages without color again. Now they both realize as they chat that they're the brother and sister. This is the twin sister that he never, you know, lost when he was a child. it doesn't stop them for 1 second being romantic with each other. I don't know. I guess things were different then. So it's just like, my twin sister, I love you so. And they plan their getaway. And of course, Siglind says, yeah, that sword's in our tree, in our house. And of course, Sigmund can pull it out. Basically, Wotan left the sword for him. Left it there. That's a pretty neat design here. So they kiss, they embrace, and they run off. Now, in his drugged stupor, Hunding the husband, he's conscious enough to basically pray to Fricka to avenge his dishonor. And he just says, incest, incest. Now, Fricka is the goddess of, like, domestic tranquility. So I guess that's who you'd pray to if you wanted to get revenge on an adulterous spouse. Interesting title page there. And now we cut away to Brunhilde, the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie were the almost like angels that would come down to the battlefield and take the fallen soldiers up to Valhalla, where they'd reside in, forever, kind of like heaven. So the leader of them, and the most beloved to Wotan, is Brunhilde. God, this is just glorious. Amazing. I can't get over P. Greg Russell. So Wotan's admiring his daughter. I think all the Valkyries are his daughters. He cheated on Fricka with someone, and with Erida, I think. So Fricka basically says, we got to take care of the situation. This guy Hunding has prayed that Sigmund be struck down for stealing his wife. She's adamant. Wotan doesn't want to. Wotan really likes Sigmund. And she's just like, I don't care. He's totally broke the rules. So she basically says, you have to promise, not only are you not going to help him, because Wotan wants to help him. She says, not only are you not going to help him, but you're going to help make sure he dies. He's got to pay. Just these conversations, these talking heads, he makes so interesting with the changing camera angle. He just knows comics, man. P. Greg Russell's been doing it for so long. He's just a consummate storyteller. Wotan gives his word to Fricka. He's not happy about it at all, though. In fact, he's bereft because he really loves Sigmund. And so Wotan, tells Brunhild the story. And he basically says, no one can protect him. No one can protect him. He must pay. Oh, man. Really nice stuff. So this is really weird. So now Erida shows up again with a little news. Apparently, even though Alberic has forsworn love for all time, it didn't stop him from impregnating this woman, who I believe is a Grimhilda. We're going to see her children a little later. It's a very strange pregnant belly. Now, Brunhilde doesn't like this news. She likes Sigmund too. And she actually goes against his will. She says, I'm going to protect him. I know you're only doing this because Fricka's making you. I know your actual desire is to protect Sigmund, and I will do that. And he gets furious with her. He says, are you disobeying me? She's never done it before. is an interesting scene here. I don't know if this is like, it was actually duplicated in the opera. We almost see the astral self of Brunhild float towards Wotan. Wotan's words ordering, basically commanding Brunhild, Sigmund dies. But then another little voice says, Sigmund lives. His, how he really feels. So it's almost like, I don't know if this is her basically wanting to have it both ways. Like, well, actually, you said he lives. So I'm not really disobeying you. I'm not quite sure, though. These colors are so rich. Now we cut back to Sigmund and Sigelind. She has a nightmare about his sword being shattered and doom befalling them. So now Brunhild shows up. Just talking to Sigmund, she can't do it. She can't obey her father's wishes. She plans to kill him, but then she can't do it. And she says, fuck it. I'll help you escape. And then while they're in the forest, the brother and sister, lovers, Hunding shows up. And they have a sword fight. And Brunhilde helps Sigmund win the fight. Now Wotan shows up. He is not happy. And when Sigmund tries to cut Wotan's spear, his sword shatters. And then right at that moment, Hunding stabs. He runs him through. And he's dead. Before she runs away, Brunhilde, she collects all the broken pieces of the sword, gives it to Sigelind, and she tries to escape before Wotan can get at her. Now we got part 3 here. Now basically Brunhilde escapes to Valhalla. She's telling all of her Valkyrie sisters, like, I need help, guys. I really screwed the pooch here. I fucked up. And then finally, she brought Sigelind. Now I think Odin wants to kill her too, so she's like, we gotta hide her somewhere. Now her sisters, the fellow Valkyries, I think I've been saying that wrong the whole time. Valkyries, they're all too scared. They're like, we don't want to get in trouble too. Sigelind isn't even grateful. She's just like, I wish you let me die without Sigmund. I don't care. But Brunhilde tells her that she's pregnant with Sigmund's baby. So you have to stay alive. I like the way he does this, where she's just like, you should have let me die. Kill me. And as soon as she tells her she's pregnant, she says, save me, save my child. So they put her in this forest somewhere, and then Odin shows up. God, I love that expression on her face. Pico Arresto's so good at like drawing flora and trees and stuff, all the twisty limbs, but I think he used to be better. I can't help, even though I love this art, I still like, oh man, if he did this in 1979, this would have been way more impressive, I bet. So here's Odin. Look at this great pinup of Odin here. He is pissed off. And so basically he banishes her forever. Her punishment is he's gonna put her, very much like Sleeping Beauty, he's gonna put her to sleep so any man who finds her will claim her as his own. So she'll basically be doomed to be a mortal woman, a weak, helpless woman who has to serve a man, and it could be a terrible man. So she asks him a boon. She says, Father, can you at least surround me with fire so that only the bravest man will dare wake me from my slumber and then, claim me for his own. I don't want to be with some cowardly idiot, Because, she's a warrior maiden, basically. You can tell, like, Wotan is breaking his heart. But if he's a stupid god, those gods, they're just like, well, you broke my law. You have to pay. I don't care. He's pretty unyielding. But you know that deep down he's hating this. Because Brunhilde was his favorite. She can't reason with him. But he does agree to her wish. See, we see him crying here. Even though he's being so unfeeling, seemingly unfeeling. Man, some of these faces are just gorgeous. I don't know if I'll see some soon, but I did have to say, this is like, what, 300 pages? One of the first times in my life where I've seen, there's a few bad faces in here. Or I don't know if Pete Gregory got tired of drawing for so long. It's very little. It's mostly gorgeous art, but it was weird. Just, after decades of loving every panel of his, being like, ugh, I've never seen Pete Gregory draw a face that crappy. Except in his early years, of course. So he puts her to sleep, puts on her shield, her little warrior's helmet, and then he has Loge light a firewall around her. Look at this great spread here. Just such a nice design. Now we have, this is the second half's beginning here with Siegfried. So now we see Sigurd. Sigurd is running through that forest. Right after I said, talking about the flora is beautiful. God, that face there. Such good storytelling. So she runs into Mime, the Nibelung, Alberic's brother. He basically says, you can come to my little hut. She's about to give birth. The baby is born. But Sigurd dies in childbirth. And so Mime gathers up the broken sword and he takes the baby and he buries the mother. I like this. One of the first things the baby does is punch Mime in the nose, which is very prophetic of how I'll treat him throughout his life. So there's a little prologue. Now we have Siegfried part 1. And now Siegfried is growing up. Mime, he's a Nibelung, so he does work. He's a blacksmith. Now, all these years he's been trying to fix that sword, but it won't stay together. He can't get it to stay together. For, I don't know, 16 years he's been trying. Now we see young Siegfried shows up. He's a young man now. All he does is like taunt and play jokes on Mime. He really hates his guts. He's actually quite cruel to him. But then again, Mime has no, he's not a good guy. Mime's whole thing is just like, I raised you. I'm like your mother and your father. Why are you so disrespectful? And he's like, you're a wizzy little fuck. So he gets mad at Mime for not being able to fix the sword. He's been promising to for years. And he's always given Siegfried shit for being ungrateful. Like, I cooked for you. I raised you from a pup. And all you do is insult me, like everyone's mom. So Siegfried puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Mime's not his real father. He says, when I go in the woods, I see the animals, the mother, the kids look like their parents, I don't look anything like you. And he really wants to find out who his parents really are. He tells her, but of course he doesn't really tell him the whole truth. I like this unreliable narrator thing where he said she was in great pain. I did what I could. I was a great help to her. But really, he just cowered in the corner, afraid to even approach her. So Siegfried basically promises to run away as soon as he can. He just hates Mime's guts. Now Wotan shows up, and he talks to Mime. He doesn't realize it's Wotan. He just thinks he's a weird old wanderer with one eye. Basically, Wotan tells him that the only person who can fix that sword is someone without fear, someone pure of heart, and that's why Mime will never fix it. So now Siegfried's had enough of this. He's like, supposedly the only thing you're good at is being a blacksmith, and you suck at that. I'm gonna do it. I bet I could do a better job. And he totally does. He grinds down all the pieces of metal to dust, basically, and then reforges them. And all the tricks that Mime did over the years to try to get it to hold together, he never thought to do that. And so he succeeds. A few pages of him making the sword. Meanwhile, Mime is putting a sleeping potion in Siegfried's drink. So now Mime realizes this is how he can get the ring. In the intervening years, remember the giant Fafnir? I don't know why, but he was turned into a dragon, or turned himself into a dragon. So he has all that gold, and after he killed his brother, he turned into a dragon, and now he just sits in a cave protecting his hoard. So basically, Mime has this whole plan that only this sword will be able to kill Fafnir. So he's gonna basically tell Siegfried where this cave is, and then once he kills the dragon, Mime will do some trickery, like poison him or something, and then get the ring for himself. This is an interesting rough pencil thing on top of the fully colored art. He's having a fantasy about ruling the world, and these will be all of his subjects, the huddled masses. So now they're heading towards this dragon's cave. Ah, oh, this beautiful page of just these tree branches. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we cut away to Alberic. He's at the cave, Fafnir's cave. He's just been hanging out there for years, just waiting. He wants that ring back so bad. Wotan shows up, has a discussion with Alberic. And Wotan goes to confront Fafnir. But I guess Fafnir doesn't want to wake up from his slumber. So Wotan rides off, and now we see Siegfried and Mime, and they make it to the Fafnir's cave. So totally, basically, he's totally planning to kill Siegfried. So Siegfried is lying, waiting for the dragon to wake up. And he's listening to the birds sing. And he's like, I wish I could understand their language. I should have gotten this off the shelf, guys, but One of the first videos we did was Epic Illustrated #2, and it has a vignette by P. Craig Russell in 1981. So you can see how the same artist, decades apart, handled the same scene. It's very different. Like I said, the art's much more lush, lots of line work. We don't see much storytelling like this. It's pretty interesting. So I don't know if you want to watch that video or if you have it yourself, go check it out. I should have brought it out to show off, but this is a big enough book as it is. It's going to take me a while. So finally he wakes up Fafnir, and Fafnir comes out, and basically Siegfried has no fear. He doesn't understand the concept even. And he's like, oh yeah, basically my guardian, Mime, he said that you could teach me fear. I hope you can. I want to know this feeling. But he doesn't feel it at all. I gotta say, really do not like the way he draws Fafnir. I liked it a lot more in that Epic Illustrated #2 story. It's just a little too goofy and cartoony. It just looks like a big alligator. So they begin their fight, and with the power of his sword, Siegfried kills Fafnir. So now he has rightfully won the treasure. As he pulls his sword out, a little drop of it gets on his hand. It burns, so he licks it to cool off his hand. And then all of a sudden, he can understand the birds now. It's something about the dragon's blood. And so the birds tell him, if you take that ring, you'll rule the world, Siegfried. Meanwhile, Alberic and Mime have a little reunion. It's not a good one. They both hate each other because they both are greedy little fuckers. Siegfried comes out of the cave. He left all the treasure behind. He just took the ring and that mantle, which I'm so sorry I can't find the name of that thing. Alberic leaves because Mime says, I got this guy under my thumb, the Siegfried guy. And he pours Siegfried a drink. And something about the dragon's blood, he can actually hear Mime's real words. So like when Mime talks his, deceitful words, he can hear, drink this poison. It'll muddle your brain and tumble you down to the ground. And then I'll take your sword and I'll cut your head off. So he can hear all of this. It's almost like he can read his mind. I like the way P. Craig Russell depicts that with the word balloons, having this little musical notes around it. So Siegfried just runs them through. He's sick of his shit. Meanwhile, Alberic is watching from the woods and just laughs his ass off. So then the bird comes back and he talks to him a little more. And he tells Siegfried about Brunhilde, the sleeper, the sleeping beauty. And Siegfried is quite intrigued. Look at this interesting landscape here. Jagged mountains. Now we have part 3 of Siegfried. God, these little title cover pages are really nice. So now once again, Wotan is talking to Erda. God, I love the way he draws her. She's kind of giving him shit for the whole Brunhilde thing. He also wants more information about this whole Twilight of the Gods business. But Wotan realizes that this could all work out. He realizes that, yeah, Siegfried might find Brunhilde. And so now Wotan approaches Siegfried. Once again, I don't think Siegfried has any idea he's Wotan. So basically Siegfried's he's cocky. And he's basically like, not talking to Wotan with much respect. Even though Wotan's incognito, he doesn't like to being talked to like that by a young whippersnapper. So it's a little argumentative. Of course, Siegfried has no fear at all. Even if he was Wotan, he doesn't care. Now, he does admit to Siegfried that he was the one who imprisoned, Brunhilde in the circle of fire. And he kind of warns him away. And he's slowly realizing that this guy's more than he seems. That he's, because Wotan can't help but brag and like, yeah, I'm a god, basically. Some nice stuff there. And so, even though Wotan's a god, even though his spear is made from that tree of life, Siegfried is so pure of heart, and with this magic sword, he actually breaks Wotan's spear. That's a big deal. And so now he enters into the circle of fire to win his bride. This is another weird thing they do throughout the comic I haven't pointed out yet. The Valkyries do this too. They just do these weird, like, ho ho, ha hey. We see this many times. Maybe it's something in the musical score of The Ring, where this characters do that. Some weird kind of chant. Like the Lumineers song or something. Hey, oh. So he finds Brunhilde, and he wakes her with a kiss. And she's pretty happy that he's the one who woke her, and she will be his now. Really nice face there. And Siegfried almost kind of has an inkling of what fear feels like, because he's so in love with her that he's like already afraid of like maybe losing her or not having her. God, he just draws him so beautifully. He's just a gorgeous man. It's another great panel. And so it looks like they're gonna be lovers. It's very glorious. You can almost hear the swelling romantic music, And that's the end of Siegfried. Now we have the final book in this ring cycle, Götterdämmerung, the Twilight of the Gods. Once again, we see in this prologue, we see the Norns spinning their fates. They recount how Wotan, drank from their little stream, their encounter. It's almost like a recap for the ring cycle. So once again, the Norn are talking about how it's kaput for the gods. They're not long for this universe. Once again, these just amazing, deep, rich colors. We see the silhouette of Siegfried and Brunhilde making love. Once again, we see that little drop of water motif, a little moment of time. But then one of the Norns' ropes breaks, which I don't think happens often. That basically means, fate is making a new path. They descend into the earth, and now we have part 1 of Götterdämmerung. Siegfried and Brunhilde are just totally in love. Just being all schmaltzy with each other. How they will never part, even when they have to travel away from each other. They'll be united in love. So now Siegfried comes upon this woman being attacked by some scoundrels. He fights him off. We basically see Siegfried getting into adventures everywhere. He's just wandering around getting into adventures, being a hero. So now we see this kingdom, and I think it's called like the Kingdom of Gibbich or something. So we see the king of this kingdom. His name is Gunther. He has a half-brother named Hagen. Now Hagen is the son of Alberic and that Grimhilda lady. And so he's half, Nibelung. So he's like the advisor to his brother. He's also very devious and very coveting his brother's power. And now here's their sister, Gertrude. Now they have a problem. The king needs to get married. He's single, and he wants to marry his sister off as well. So, of course, devious little Hagen comes up with a plan. And he knows about Siegfried and Brunhilde somehow. So he basically says, what if I brought you Brunhilde as a bride? And he's like, why would he do that? And it's like, well, if he falls in love with our sister, Gertrude, then he will. So he devises this whole canny plot. There's going to be a magic potion involved, which one sip of it will bind Siegfried to Gertrude forever. So Siegfried shows up at this kingdom. The king, King Gunther, totally welcomes him. And instantly they have this almost brotherly bond. They're like, come share my food, you great warrior, you great hero. I've heard of your exploits. And it's not like he's tricking him, trying to trick him or anything. He really generally seems to like Siegfried. I like this little zoom in. Hagen can't help but notice the ring on Siegfried's finger. He wants it so bad. So Siegfried drinks the magic potion. Instantly, he falls in love with Gertrude. It's almost like he sees her as Brunhilde. The love that he has for Brunhilde is now transferred to her. God, that's some... This is the one time where I think it's a little too much rely on photorealism. I don't see enough of Pico Russell's style in these drawings. So it totally works. He's totally in love with her. She likes him back a lot too. So the whole plot goes without a hitch. Basically, he says, yeah, and I'll bring you this Brunhilde. He doesn't even remember his love for her. And you can marry her. These guys become blood brothers, the king and Siegfried. They literally cut their arms and drink each other's blood. So they're really close. So now, Siegfried and Gunther take off to find Brunhilde. She's just sitting there in the beautiful forest admiring her ring. She has the ring now. The Valkyries come to visit her and to tell her about how the gods' days are done for. And now this great flashback stuff in black and white. So basically the reason why Wotan has been wandering around aimlessly, incognito, but now he's back in, sorry about that sentence. I meant to say he has been traveling incognito. Now he's back in Valhalla. And I guess he ordered his host to chop down the world tree, the world ash they call it, and then pile it up for a big bonfire. It's almost like he's hastening the demise of the world. He's bringing it about, which he did mention to the Norns. I didn't point that out. He basically said, I don't fear this anymore. In fact, I'm okay with it. Let's just get rid of everything. Let's burn it all to the ground. But he still knows if he could get that ring, he could turn everything around. So he still wants this ring. Now, the Valkyrie tells Brunhilde to throw the ring away. You know, it's cursed. She says, nothing good can happen if you keep wearing that ring. But of course, it reminds her of Siegfried's love, so she can't. She will never renounce love, she says. And then she gets angry at her Valkyrie sister and says, get the hell out of here. And so now, she's safely behind this wall of fire. Only Siegfried can cross it. But with Siegfried's help, now Gunther can. So basically just Gunther forces her to marry him. He actually forces himself upon her. And he takes her ring and puts it on himself. He says, now you are Gunther's bride. This is my dowry. I like these 3 little zoom in panels. Oh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot about this. This was actually Siegfried himself who did all this, using that magic helm. But then he turns back into Gunther. Part 2 of Götterdämmerung. And we see Alberic talking to his son, Hagen. God, such well-drawn faces in here. Basically, Alberic is saying, you got to get that ring for your father. So now they're all back in this kingdom. And it looks like Brunhilde is just going to have to marry Gunther. And Siegfried is going to marry Gertrude. So Hagen announces to all the warriors, the soldiers in the land, that it's going to be a big marriage, sacrifice some animals, and we're all going to have a feast. Now Brunhilde meets, for the first time, sees Gertrude with Siegfried. Here's an example. I never would even guess this panel's by P. Craig Russell. That is I've never seen him drawn this subpar. It's still pretty damn fine art. If any was any other cartoons, I'd be like, yeah, they're okay. But just little examples like that, just little tiny chinks in the armor of P. Craig Russell's amazing art. Maybe it's because it was so long. Maybe he's getting a little old. I don't know. So, I don't know. I don't even know why I bring it up. But for the most part, this is just gorgeous stuff. So for the first time, she sees Gertrude and Siegfried, and she's just freaked out. She just can't believe her eyes. And she starts accusing Gunther, starts accusing Siegfried. And then she realizes the trick that Siegfried played on her by putting that helm on and appearing to be Gunther in her little circle of flame. And she basically tells everyone that, like, she accuses Siegfried. She says, he was my love. We were practically married, whatever they did back then. Nobody even knew this. This was a secret to everyone. And everyone's all like, oh, is that true, Siegfried? So Siegfried basically says, I will swear on this spear. I guess that's an oath that, you can't lie. He touches the spear and says, what, this woman is crazy, what she said. I have not betrayed my brother, the king. He calls him his brother. So I love this scene where Brunhilde makes her way through the crowd and she touches the spear and she makes her own pledge. She says, by the point of this medal, he has sworn falsely to you. Not only has this man betrayed me, but he has made a false oath, which is a big deal, I guess, back then. It seems like people kind of believe her. But she basically just says, screw this, guys. Siegfried says, let's just have our feast. We're going to have a happy wedding. And, forget about all this craziness. Brunhilde runs off. And then Hagen shows up. And Hagen, basically they start plotting. And then also Gunther's there, the king. And he's sad because he feels betrayed by Siegfried. Because either way, whichever side you believe, it seems like he's done him wrong. So the three of them basically say we must kill Siegfried. All of us must for our honor. He's betrayed all of us. Within the castle, everyone's having a great time. Once again, look at that face on Gertrude. Not P. Greg's also finest hour by any means. And Brunhilde and Gertrude pretend to be friendly now. Really nice colors in here. I kind of thought that was interesting. This big, a pig on a spit. Its fat is boiling and dripping into the fire. And it's kind of a foreboding image for what's to come. Now we have part 3 of Götterdämmerung. Now we're back to the Rhine Maidens. And Siegfried appears before them. They're like, give us back our gold. You have the ring, our Rhine gold. And of course he doesn't want to do it. They try to seduce him. They try to flatter him. They threaten him. Siegfried is tempted. He's a little horn dog, even though he just married Gertrude. He refuses to give them the ring, though. Here we have some more of that business. Ho hey, hey hi, ho yo hey, hey yo yo ho. So I guess Siegfried is in the middle of a hunt. He's separated from the hunting party, but now they show up. There's Hagen. He says, I haven't caught anything, guys. And it's him and Gunther the king, and then their host. I guess the other guys caught some pheasants, so they're going to have a little campfire and cook up lunch. Siegfried is retelling his exploits to all the guys. What a great hero he is and all the adventures he's had. And then Hagen gives him another magic potion. Now this makes him basically totally tell the truth. And he starts talking about how much he loves Brunhilde and how he found her in that circle of fire. And of course everyone's sitting there going, what? You said you didn't when you touched that spear. But he's totally just telling the truth. He can't help it. See the look on his face there? He's obviously in some kind of stupor. And now he kind of remembers how much he loved Brunhilde. He almost seems to be regretful, like, And while he's lost in this reverie, Hagen comes up behind him with a spear, stabs him in the back. Now, King Gunther plays dumb. He's like, what have you done, Hagen? He's like, he doesn't rat him out, though. He just says, I have avenged your honor. As Siegfried's dying, he sees Brunhilde floating in the sky. She's fallen asleep again. But it's all just a vision as he dies. And he sheds off this mortal coil. Really like this page. I can almost picture the opera guy singing this. And then as it goes to silence. So they bear the body of Siegfried away. Here we have another reference to that, the sword growing from a little seedling. Back at the castle, Gertrude is very worried about Siegfried. She's also afraid of Brunhilde. And that's when the hunting party returns and she sees that Siegfried is dead. She instantly blames Gunther. They try to claim that a boar killed him. She's like, murder! You killed my husband. Gunther instantly rats out Hagen. He was like, no, it was Hagen. He demands the ring for payment. He reaches for it on Siegfried's dead hand, and Gunther stops him. He says, no, this is Gertrude's inheritance. Her husband, so it goes to her. So they actually pull out their swords and fight over it. And while the host is trying to restrain them, Hagen stabs his own brother, kills his own brother, Gunther. And right then Brunhilde comes in. She says, she who you all betrayed comes for vengeance. That's a great face right there. She kind of, Gertrude admits about the potion, how she made Siegfried fall in love with her. So Brunhilde orders everyone to build a giant funeral pyre. God, look at this, how it goes from these fiery colors inside the hall where all this violence happened. And then look at these beautiful colors, just like quiet, muted colors. It's mournful because they're all the action's done, and now they're gonna burn Siegfried on this pyre. Brunhilde is lamenting, just talking about what an amazing man he was. She blames Wotan for all of this, his machinations. It all led to this. These pages are so gorgeous. Just the layouts on these. The coloring. The art. So she has the ring now, and finally, after all this huzzarai, she throws it into the river so the Rhine maidens can claim it again. Finally breaking this cycle. Wotan's ravens are watching. They fly off to Valhalla to, I guess, tell him everything that's going on. Brunhilde gets her horse, and she basically rides. Her and her horse ride. I'm sorry, it's Siegfried's horse. So it's almost implied that the horse doesn't want to live without his beloved master. So she says, we will join him on the pyre. And there she is, just immolating herself. Meanwhile, the castle catches fire. I wasn't quite sure why. And Gertrude is killed when the roof collapses. Now Hagen finds, is looking at the pyre. He sees Brunhilde's burnt, shriveled hand. And right as he's about to grab the ring off of it, the Rhine maidens show up. And in all the other scenes, they were all like giggling, goofy, almost like sorority girls, like mean girls. Now they're not, they're very much scarier. So they show up, the water comes, and they're riding on a wave. And they basically stop him from getting the ring. And eventually they pull him under and he drowns as they take the ring away from him. Really just scary almost, these Rhine maidens. Now they finally have their Rhine gold back and they swim off. Now we see up in Valhalla, didn't quite understand why Wotan kills Loge, runs him through the spear. Maybe just because it's the end of the gods and it's just like, who cares what I do? I don't really know. And now we see it's like almost this like afterlife. And we see Siegfried, pure and golden and strong like he was when he was young, before he was corrupted. And we see Brunhild, and they embrace. And it's this glorious eternity we imagine they'll share together. It's interesting. It's like he washes out the colors in the art until it's just blinded. It's a nimbus of light, which we realize is now the sun. We see this devastated landscape. Once again with the drop of water thing. This time it doesn't turn into a sword. It turns into this oddly rectangular shaped tree. The end. And that's it for the Ring of the Nibelung. Really odd. This just looks like a cheesy poster you'd see in a dentist's office for children, you know? It's very weird last page. End papers, back cover. So there you go, guys. The Ring of the Nibelung by P. Craig Russell. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It was sure fun to reread this last night for the first time in a while, and to review it with you. I don't know how hard this is to find. There's only 500, but to be honest, I might trade this for the trade paperback just because there's all the covers. So maybe one day I'll find it, the soft cover. I really want those covers, even though this is a beautifully published book. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry this video was so long, but it's a really big book. I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.